When you're on a team, it can be hard to stand out, especially when you're focused on working together to win. Surprisingly, some stars, like Shaquille O'Neal, have learned how to do that. Amazingly, the basketball star is 7 feet 1 inch tall and weighs an amazing 325 pounds. He was always hard to miss on the court. Fans still don't know everything there is to know about the many pictures of basketball star Shaquille O'Neal over the years. He already stood over 6 foot tall by the time he was 10 years old. When we think of basketball players, a few things usually come to mind. Being tall is often a plus, so it shouldn't have been a surprise that Shaquille O'Neal looked like he belonged on the court right away. Shaq is now an amazing 7 feet and 1 inch tall, which makes him a real threat to any team. It turns out that the player has always been on the tall side. When he was 10 years old, Shaq measured a whopping 6 feet 4 inches tall. An angry dad from another basketball team saw Shaq's height and tried to pull him off the court while screaming, "He's not 10!" Shaq was cut from his high school basketball team as he wasn't any good. It hasn't been easy for all players to get to the top. They found out that Shaquille O'Neal had a rough start in basketball because they kicked him off their high school team. The cause? The coach didn't want to teach Shaq everything he knew about basketball because he thought Shaq wasn't very good at it. Philip was in the service, so Shaq and his family moved to Germany. The rising star tried out for the school basketball team, but there was a catch. The teacher already had a player who was as tall as Shaq and knew how to play the game. The coach never even knew Shaq's name before he was cut. Shaquille O'Neal earned $1 million before he was signed, and blew it all. It counts when you become a millionaire before signing with an NBA team. That's what happened when Shaquille O'Neal, the basketball star, was hired for a $1 million marketing deal right before he played in 1992. Classic Carr must have known that Shaq was going to be famous, but things were tough for the player. People have different ideas about how long it took Shaq to spend it all, but it wasn't more than 2 days. He bought 3 Mercedes-Benz with $400,000, one for himself, one for his mom, and one for his stepdad. He also paid off his parents' debt with $150,000. Business Insider says Shaq spent the rest of the money on jewelry and rings and put him in debt for $60,000. His famous 32 jersey was kind of inspired by an NBA legend. A lot of Shaquille O'Neal fans can now spot his number 32 shirt from any place. The player didn't always want it to be that way, though. It turns out that Shaq wanted the number 33 shirt to honor Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was a huge inspiration to him when he was a teenager. That was until he found out that no one at his high school wore that number vest. He chose to wear the number 32 shirt instead until it was his turn. Before joining the Orlando Magic, Shaq wore the number 33 jersey for a short time while playing for LSU. However, veteran player Terry Catledge refused to give up his 33 jerseys, so Shaq had to wear the number 32 jersey instead. The basketball legend was raking in millions of dollars by the time he was 20. We all want to be rich and popular by the time we're young adults, let's face it. Turns out Shaquille O'Neal was living the dream, so he didn't need to think about it. It all started when he signed a $40 million deal with the Orlando Magic for 7 years. Everyone couldn't wait to get their hands on the talent. To get $20 million to $25 million worth of Shaq, Scoreboard, Spalding, and Kenner all wanted to buy him. Another company on the list was Reebok, which made Shaq an offer of $15 million. Pepsi then made an offer of $14 million. Shaq became a millionaire overnight thanks to all his hard work and money. Shaquille O'Neal found a unique way to make his money feel real. While many of us don't know what it's like to have all the money in the world, it's something that's been making a lot of us think. Shaq has a special way of making sure he always keeps his feet on the ground and his head above the clouds. Due to his access to so much cash, the basketball star quickly began to put his money into other companies. The first thing on the list was a car wash, but something didn't seem right. Shaq's accountant saw that his accounts were missing about $250,000. The cause? All of it was kept in Shaq's room in wooden boxes. He says he wanted the crazy amount of money to seem real. He once spent his money on 2 Ferraris and cut them both in half. When you're at the top, you spend your time trying to beat someone at how much money you have in the bank. I find it amazing that that's what happened during Shaquille's first season with the Orlando Magic. The team won every game. The other person making a name for himself, though, wasn't Shaq, it was Penny Hardaway. What did Penny do with his money after he bought a Ferrari? Shaq got 2. That wasn't enough, of course. Another thing Shaq did was cut his Ferraris in half and weld them back together to make one long race car. For even more bad news, the player later wrote in his book that it cost $600,000 and was a terrible business decision. He turned down a huge investment deal that was worth millions of dollars. Some players spend a lot of money on bad business ideas in the hopes that one will work. Shaq? He missed a deal that could have made him a lot of money. It was supposed to happen, but it didn't work out. This is now one of the star's biggest mistakes off the court. In 1998, Howard Schultz, who was CEO of Starbucks at the time, chose to try to bring the brand into neighborhoods in the city. Shaq didn't think people of color would want to drink coffee, though, so he backed out of the deal. Magic Johnson jumped at the chance right away and made more than $70 million from his bet. Shaq has invested a huge amount of his fortune in esports. Shaquille O'Neal, better known as the Big Controller, was one of the first people to invest in esports, so the boat might need a new name. He wasn't the only one who put money into the deal in 2016. Jimmy Rollins and Alex Rodriguez also did, giving them a large share in the company, NRG Gaming. They have a huge reputation in the world of esports, and now they have some of the best players on board to help them take the brand to new heights. As you might expect, Shaq is in charge of the basketball video game section and the events that come with it. The best part? It was important enough for Shaq to go back to the studio and record Bang, his first song in 20 years. His antics on the court mean Shaquille O'Neal has broken plenty of backboards. It's one thing to beat a lot of opponents. To break the tools you use to make a name for yourself is a different thing. It turns out that Shaquille O'Neal has done both for a while. Most people who like Shaq are probably drawn to how big and strong he is on the court. He's much bigger than most players. People who play against Shaq should be careful because he's also slammed a few hoops in his time. The most famous moment was when Shaq hit so hard in 1993 that he broke the hoop. It had to be wheeled out and put back together before the game could go on. The continual damage was enough for the NBA to change the rules. The NBA will only take so many breaks before they had to find a way to stop Shaquille O'Neal from doing what he does best, which is breaking hoops and backboards. As Shaq always said, they're not meant to be as easy to get as they look. The NBA moved quickly to make the buildings stronger while still keeping everyone safe. There was a matter of time before someone made them understand they needed to improve things, according to Chairman Rod Thorne. It could have been Shaq or someone else. It turned out that Shaq was bigger and stronger than most. It was even a technical foul to break the board or basket ring. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal struggled to see eye to eye. Shaquille O'Neal has played with a lot of famous NBA players over the years, but his best years were with the Lakers. He played for this team and helped them win 3 NBA titles. They became one of the most exciting to watch on the court. People couldn't take their eyes off Shaq, but the tension on the court was getting worse. Turned out that Shaq and his Lakers partner, Kobe Bryant, had a lot of disagreements while they were together. As a result, Shaq was moved to the Miami Heat. Because they had different types and were having personal problems, they were never going to be able to figure out how to use their skills for good. The two stars' feud lasted for several years, on and off the court. Things started badly for Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal as soon as they joined the Lakers. O'Neal is said to have become envious of Kobe's shirt sales after only a couple of years. When Kobe said that Shaq wasn't in shape at their training sessions around the turn of the century, things got even worse. Their teacher had to step in to help. Phil Jackson is said to have called Kobe and Shaq juvenile because they kept insulting each other in interviews and didn't always help each other out on the court. Some people even said that Kobe might be too sensitive to Shaq's comments, which made things worse between the two players. Shaquille O'Neal had plenty to say about Kobe Bryant's affairs. Over the years, the NBA has had its fair share of problems. One was Kobe Bryant's reported affairs with other women while he was married. The player who died was also accused of acting badly, and he had to say something in public to put an end to the reports. Everyone wasn't sure how the news would make Shaquille O'Neal feel. Being rival peers, Shaq soon had a lot to say about it. In 2008, he did a freestyle rap in which he shared his thoughts. He later told ESPN, "The whole situation is ridiculous." In the rap, the athlete said that Kobe paid women $1 million to keep quiet about their relationships. The basketball star blames Kobe Bryant for his divorce from Shawnee. Would you believe that Shaquille O'Neal even said that Kobe Bryant's marriage problems were making his marriage worse? Shaq and his ex-wife, Shawnee, first ran into trouble when they said they were splitting up in September 2007. Once more, Shaq used his music to say what he thought about everything. Shaq rapped, "Kobe ratted me out, that's why I'm getting divorced." No one knew what the athlete meant by the line, but it did imply that Kobe Bryant told Shawnee something he maybe shouldn't have, which was enough for her to end the relationship. Shaq has spent thousands of dollars on his divorce and the settlement. Shaquille O'Neal has made a lot of money over the years because he's such a famous player. Wealthy Gorilla thinks he's worth a huge $400 million in 2021. The amount is likely to keep going up since Shaq is getting more well-known every year in the sport and with the brand deals. That was sad because it meant he had to spend a lot of money on his divorce from Shawnee and the payments that came after. In his autobiography, Shaq said that the couple had agreed to a secret deal. One thing he did say was that he gives Shawnee $10,000 a month in child support. Not only that, he gives $10,000 to each of his 4 kids. Shawnee wanted the divorce to happen in California for a very good reason. There's more to getting a divorce than just splitting up your stuff and going your different ways. That's not all there is to it, especially when a lot of money's at stake. Shaq's split from Shawnee was no different. When Shaq played for the Miami Heat in 2007, things didn't go as planned. On paper, this meant that the case had to be heard in Florida. Even so, Shawnee wanted the event to happen in California, where the law says that everything has to be split in half. According to ESPN, since their kids lived in Los Angeles, everything would happen there. However, according to Florida law, things would be split up. Shaq's ex-wife had her unique way of handling the cheating rumors. Since then, Shawnee has become famous as the host and director of the reality show Basketball Wives. In this interview, she talked about how she felt when she found out that Shaquille had gone out with someone else. Evelyn Lozada was told by Shawnee that she busted a few windows and slashed Shaq's tires. Shawnee said she wrote, "I cheat on my wife" on the hood of his car, as if that wasn't bad enough. What's the cherry on top? To get as much attention as possible, she followed Shaq in her car while blowing the horn to the shop. His tires were flat, so he had to drive with his car with a new message on them. Shaquille O'Neal has been linked to several women since his divorce. Shaquille O'Neal used to be Shaq-a-Nova in an AOL interview, which means he had a new nickname. It seems like he used to find it easy to get girls' attention, but now he'd rather find other ways to do it. Since his split, the athlete's been tied to several women. There were rumors that he was linked to Nicole Hoops Alexander, but later Distractify said that Shaq was going to marry model Letitia Roll. Even though they never said they were dating, things changed again in 2019 when Annie Alonso joined the group. Some people think Shaq might be dating someone new, but the star said he doesn't use dating sites because people don't think it's him. Shawnee and Shaq have shared several love-filled comments on social media. According to TV One, Shawnee and Shaq have shared several loving comments, so it looks like they haven't spent all their time alone. Shaquille did a photo shoot for his new relationship with the global company JCPenney in 2018, which got them a lot of attention. He was wearing the same suit I'm wearing when I marry Shawnee, but it wasn't the post itself. When Shawnee did an interview, she was asked about the person she trusts most in the world. This changed everything. Someone said he's 7'1" and he wears size 22 shoes. It didn't take long for people to figure out who she was talking about. The couple reportedly spent $1 million on a joint party for their daughter. Even if it means going the extra mile, many parents will do anything to make sure their kids have everything they need. That seemed to be the case when Shaquille and Shawnee worked together again to throw their daughter, Amira, a big party. What did she need for her 18th birthday? Something special, right? Based on what TMZ Sports says, the parents thought that because they spent almost $1 million on everything they need to make Amira's birthday the best it could be, no one knows for sure what cost so much for the day, but if it's true, Shaq and Shawnee will spend everything they have on their kids. Some people have questioned whether Shaq and Shawnee will ever rekindle their romance. Many people have been wondering for years, will Shawnee and Shaquille O'Neal ever get back together? It turns out that they asked for a divorce in 2007, but later changed their minds and tried to get back together. That was until 2009 when the papers were brought up again in court. In the end, the pair broke up, but Shawnee and Shaq have spent years showing the world that they want to raise their kids together. They've also shown a lot of love for each other on social media. TV One says Shaq even kissed his ex-wife on the cheek during a post on Jasmine Brand's page. There have been strange things happen. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon